Progressives, leftists of Reddit. What's your most conservative belief? Super duper liberal government employee. I think it should be easier to fire federal employees. That policies should be harshly judged on actual outcomes instead of simply their stated intentions. I wouldn't say it's a conservative view, but I think a lot of woke people are intolerant morons seeking virtue signaling points by shaming people. Gun control in America will never work. You have too many in the market, no consistent laws, an online market plus assembly capabilities, and it's too much part of the cultural identity. Might as well embrace it. They should teach gun safety in schools. Put the anti-gun control lobby money into mental health and domestic abuse resources. Most of the proposed solutions to student debt are incredibly short-sighted. I believe strongly in diversity and enjoy being around people from different backgrounds. However, I don't think things such as ethnicity or gender should be a deciding, limiting factor when hiring somebody. This comes as a criticism from the left. A lot of D politicians are just as bad if not worse than certain R politicians. White and straight allies speaking for groups they aren't in are usually annoying and arrogant. More of a libertarian belief than a conservative one. But I believe people have the right to put whatever toxic shit into their body they want as long as it's clearly labeled as such. Tobacco, giant sugary drinks, etc. Give me that Paunch Burger XL. Racial minorities can be just as racist as whichever race is dominant in a given country, society. They just can't be structurally, systemically racist, because this isn't the only type of racism, no matter how much pressure is put on lexicographers to stop listing the other forms. Don't believe me? Check these non-conservative sources. Here, https://www.diversityandeducation.org/4-types-of-racism. Here, https://www.thoughtco.com/4-different-types-of-racism-2834982. Here, https://www.thoughtco.com/racism-definition-3026511. Here, https://www.lifepersona.com/the-18-types-of-racism-in-the-world. Here, https://www.shorelineschools.org/site/default.aspx?pagetype equals 3 and modulinstanced equals 3131 and viewit equals deadccd 34-7c24-4f2-812a-33c00753998bc and renderlock equals O and flexdatate equals 24891 and pageid equals 1951 and tag equals and comments equals true closing parenthesis comma. Here, https://en.yestherapy-helps.com/the-8-most-common-types-of-racism-12193 closing parenthesis. Here, https://historyofracism-w.wordpress.com/types-of-racism/closing parenthesis. Here, https://www.aclrc.com/forms-of-racism closing parenthesis. I could go on, at length. Nuclear power should be considered as a viable energy alternative. As a Texan, I am very liberal. However, it irks me to no end how many, often people from California move down to Texas because our cost of living is low. Buy up land or small houses on land, build giant mansions, making the neighborhood's area more expensive, basically forcing people out of their homes. They then complain about our laws and how much better California is at something. I have met a few who even want to change policies that make Texas cheaper than California, which would in turn make it more expensive to live here. Anyone who has been to the Austin and surrounding areas and even Southlake in DFW and parts of Dallas have seen it. My own area is currently going through gentrification and I hate it. Other than that, my views line right up with all liberals. That liberals don't have effective messaging. I don't really buy into this whole ban assault rifles thing. Rifles in general are just such a small part of the gun violence epidemic. It just seems like a publicity stunt that doesn't do anything to address the real issues. Edit. Also, a disturbing lack of specificity from the politicians about what exactly an assault rifle is. Cancel culture is a legitimate concern and will only harm our hopes for a progressive, democratic society. You can't force someone to think a certain way because they develop their mindset by a set of experiences. Just telling someone their thinking is wrong is not an effective way to change their mind. Farmhouse is a cute home decor style. I support voter ID. I definitely enjoy talking to conservatives about guns more than I do hearing how wrong I am about guns from a lefty folk. Tears of joy, I look at fancy guns the same as I do track cars. Go ahead and enjoy them, where appropriate. Markets are generally pretty good mechanisms for managing complicated resource allocation problems, and the default state of a market should be unregulated until there's a concrete reason why specific regulations should be passed. I just think that there are some situations in which markets behave poorly and where that line for justification of has been exceeded, like healthcare, education, carbon emissions, some aspects of the labor market, etc. I think that identity politics have, in a way, become a barrier to pushing for traditional leftist economic positions and environmentalism. The vast majority of progressives I know have very little to say about moving past capitalism, because they're focused on race, gender, LGBT issues. For that matter, they have very little to say about climate change and other environmental issues. Mostly just, we should do something about that. It concerns me because while social justice is legitimately important, I think that climate change and the economy are existential issues for everyone on the planet, and many progressives don't have the will to fight for them like they do for social causes. Occupy Wall Street, for example, had no real direction, fizzled out quickly, and basically accomplished nothing. Eco-activism hardly exists, things haven't gotten better, so where's the outrage? The more conspiratorial side of me thinks that certain actors want to funnel people's rage entirely into social justice, and keep the target away from capitalism. I support anyone who's female, male, gender fluid, don't have a gender, and things along those lines. But you cannot tell me that you identify as a rabbit and expect me to take you seriously. Expecting everybody to ask, know your preferred pronouns and making a big deal about people getting it wrong is entirely unreasonable. To clarify, I believe everybody should live their life identifying however is most appropriate for themselves. I just don't think it's fair to vilify people who either aren't familiar or are uneducated about the subject. Individual teachers may be underpaid, but they are also under-regulated. I'm fine in theory with higher pay, depending on the area. Some wages are much worse than others, but we need to get rid of some chaff. There are a lot of dogshit teachers around that can be a big part of screwing up kids' lives. CNN sucks balls. That being offended doesn't make you right and the other person wrong. Sometimes you're the problem. I support the Second Amendment as practiced and interpreted today, with an eye on how it was intended. I'm not so far right as some on it. I believe some regulation is reasonable and acceptable. But I find many of the regulations desired today as incompatible with the intent of the Second as envisioned by our founders. This whole BS about military weapons is crazy given the clear context of the Constitution and the creation of the Second. The Democrats even said the same in a SCOTUS case where they argued that the right to keep and bear arms was only connected with service in the militia and therefore the Second only applied to military-style arms. Nowadays they say the military-style arms are the ones to be prohibited. British here. I'm left-wing in the sense that I support the welfare state, socialized healthcare and low-cost services for the population. I want education to be well-funded and I want the police to be well-funded, albeit with more oversight. I'm probably not someone who would go around calling myself woke, but I am very much opposed to any kind of prejudice and all of the isms that go with it. That's just a default thing to me. I don't think I need some special label for being a normal person. One of my most conservative beliefs is that I believe your home is your castle and that if somebody breaks in with the intent of either robbing you or harming you, you have every right to use any means necessary to incapacitate them. They forfeit their life when they break into another person's home. Ideally, the chosen means of incapacitation wouldn't result in death and then they could be medically treated before being carted off to prison. I do realize this is a risky belief to hold though. If the law was changed so that homeowners' residents could freely murder a burglar that breaks in, burglars may become more dangerous too. They may arm themselves more heavily with the expectation of a fight or struggle. Guns are pretty much completely illegal in the UK, with few exceptions, so the weapon of choice is usually a knife. I think self-defense would have to be proven, which is probably what we have now. If a homeowner, resident can prove they killed an intruder in self-defense, they're far less likely to be charged with manslaughter. Oh, speaking of guns, I also love them. Not like an actual gun enthusiast, but I do love to shoot them. Ideally at inanimate objects. I'm not pro-hunting unless a. The game is not endangered in any way and b. The carcass is actually going to be used for something instead of going to waste. I'm not sure if I suppose guns being legalized like in the US, but I'd love it if shooting ranges were more accessible to the public so people could go have a bit of fun with target practice in a gun-safe and secure environment. But yeah, to me home is sacred. I also support laws that protect tenants if they're renting. Everyone has the right to feel secure. I do get there will be nightmare tenants out there who refuse to pay rent and absolutely trash the property, causing thousands in damages or in some cases, condemning the property permanently. It's not always peachy for the landlords either, and I acknowledge that there are decent landlords and dogshit landlords. However, in this economy there may be perfectly good tenants who have lost work due to COVID and can't pay the rent, no matter how much they want to. That's when the welfare state needs to kick in. Maybe the tenant will find work again in a few weeks or months, but in the meantime they just need a little help. That's the point of the welfare state. Bill Sinden is probably a pedophile. I don't know. I get labeled right-wing for things that are not exclusively conservative. Not conservative per se, but I hate the whole wokeness that is plaguing the left today. I think it's kinda weird at 17 I got punched by a Nazi at a pride parade where I was walking to support my classmates. Now at 40, I'm apparently an old man who isn't woke enough for the 20-year-old progressives of today. Freedom of speech protects everyone, including racists. I don't believe in inciting violence or promoting the incitement of violence, but barring that, giving everyone the right to say what they want without judicial repercussions is a cornerstone of democracy. Knowing where people stand keeps you informed. Only way to do that is to let them speak openly. I like guns because I don't want the cops to be the only people who have them. The concept of cultural appropriation is the dumbest fucking thing I have ever come across in my entire life, and nothing will ever top that. I think a lot of my fellow super leftist progressives have become obsessed with purity testing and sometimes lose sight of the real goals. We are so busy slamming other people for not towing some party line that really only exists in our own bubble, that unity on any issue can be impossible, and some change really requires unity. I think that there are a lot of times when we don't value gradual change . The thing is, for us in our bubble, so many of these situations have already become totally unacceptable, and only complete change would start the healing we need. Whereas, to much of the rest of the nation, what we would think of as a small change seems impossible or intolerable. I think we only think of things from our own perspective and just assume everyone else is either evil or stupid. It feels terrible to us, but if it's the change we need to work with the people we want to change. Eyes on the prize. Lastly, I think we can be a bunch of hypocrites when it comes to violence individual, mob, terrorist, or otherwise. We are always talking about how abhorrent and abusive it is, but when it's done for a cause we believe in, then we say, well, people who feel they are disempowered or unheard have no other options. What else can you expect? To one side, you're a terrorist, for another, you are a freedom fighter. Are you a crazy person with anger issues or someone who has been wounded by society and so surrounded by violence you don't know any better? We either need to accept that violence will just erupt in times and situations of tension and deal with that, or we need to universally condemn violence no matter what. I don't know if this is really conservative, but I don't think that we should make hate speech illegal. In fact, I don't think that there should be any limits to free speech, except possibly when it comes to inciting violence, and even then, we should evaluate it on a case-by-case basis. In essence, I think that people should be allowed to say basically whatever the fuck they want without any legal repercussions. I'm a leftist, but even I can admit that political correctness can go too far. I mean, anyone with some sense could probably see that half the time it's just the media pushing out performative activism out of fear of receiving slander for staying quiet on issues. Hell, I've even seen minors on the internet with a small following, 1K to 12K, get harassed for not posting about Palestine or informing their followers of what is going on in the world. I don't need a 15-year-old to educate me, and it's ridiculous to expect that everyone on the internet needs to be correct 24/7. This is probably the least controversial issue, but I think we really need to revamp occupational licensing. Cosmetology schools, for example, can cost up to $20,000 for a high-end, accredited program for a salary that is typically far below the median income, U.S. Cosmetology school requires like 200 hours, though this may depend on the state, but my bachelor's degree was something like 100 or so. If you just want to wash hair at a salon, you need a license for that. Makeup artists also require a license, but if you're really good, you'd probably be better off on YouTube. You need a license to be a barber too, although I'm pretty sure the guy who cut my hair since I was a kid learned how to cut hair in the military and was unlicensed. I still have 2 ears. Louisiana even requires a license to become a florist, as if sticking flowers in pots requires a comprehensive exam. If you have the misfortune of living in one of 3 states that require a license to be an interior designer, you have to spend 6 years in education or internship before you can even start working. In 6 years you can complete both a bachelor's and a master's degree. If you have a criminal record, too bad. No license for you. Some professions I think absolutely need licenses, but for others I think it's ridiculously burdensome. I don't know if this is conservative, but I believe that a lot of hot-button liberal issues are really wedge issues designed to divide the lower classes from uniting to address inequality and are not statistically significant enough to fixate on the way that the left does. As an example, I believe gun control should be a back-burner issue because, while scary, guns aren't killing a large enough number of people to comparatively deserve the amount of focus that they get. We'd be more impactful focusing on the more mundane issue of ensuring clean drinking water for everyone, since lead exposure is linked with poor impulse control and higher incidences of violent crime. In short, I'm annoyed that most liberals would rather be angry and feel morally superior than actually get things done. Personal responsibility should always be a thing. More people should just shut the fuck up. You don't always need to speak or have an opinion. It feels like this generation has forgotten when to just not speak. Thanks for watching. See you later.